One of the challenges for the consumer is the fact that there's an ever increasing number of books out there and social media blogs and posts that make similar claims about their own effectiveness for permanent weight loss and health. What is most confusing to the lay consumer is the fact that these recommendations are often diametrically different from each other. So keto diet, high fat diet, paleo diet, intermittent fasting, fasting mimicking diets. If you pick up any of these best-selling books in these categories, they promote very different things. Do all these approaches work, or do you believe, I'm sure that you believe that, and you probably know it, that your nutrient-rich diet program is better than these other approaches?
Yes, because what I'm teaching here and what I want people to remember is that any type of radical or hypothesis can be shown to be effective in the short run. If I feed you just Twinkies or cookies, you get sick of eating Twinkies, you reduce your calories because you're only eating one food, and your triglycerides look better, you'll lose weight, and things might improve in the short run. For something to, we want to have a different criteria to evaluating whether something makes sense to you or not. Number one is the foods that form the portfolio of foods eaten. Are they shown to extend lifespan, those individual foods? Are they linked to lower rates of cancer? Or are they linked to higher rates of cancer? Or not extend, are they foods that have been shown to extend human lifespan? Number one. Number two, when we're looking at dietary portfolios, has this been evaluated in studies that look at hard endpoints over decades? In other words, what I'm saying, there's three criteria we have to use to judge the safety of a program. Number one, is it been studied with large numbers of people, tens of thousands of people? Are the studies gone on for decades, 10 or 20 years? Over those periods of years, are we looking at hard endpoints like heart attacks and strokes and cancer? Or is it's just a short-term study for a year or two where somebody might have lowered their blood pressure, or lost some weight, or lowered their triglycerides? When you look at all these criteria together, the anti-cancer effects of foods, the effects of what people eat in the blue zones, who the longest, the most centenarians live, at the epidemiologic studies that we have available that shows what kind of food patterns increase lifespan, we always find the same thing. And that is more vegetables and beans and nuts in the diet makes for longer life and lower rates of cancer. And more processed foods shortens lifespan, more high glycemic carbohydrates shorten lifespan, and more animal products shorten lifespan. So if we divide food into three different categories, number one, produce, number two, animal products, and number three, processed foods, then we only have one category out of those three, and that's produce, that's been shown to prevent cancer, slow aging, and extend human lifespan. We can talk about the nuances now, but one thing we know is that diets that are low in carbohydrates, that don't include fruit, have been shown to shorten lifespan and increase premature mortality. The ketogenic diets that are trying to induce ketosis by the restriction of carbohydrates in plants have, at this point in human history, been shown to be damaging to long-term survival and enhance. So whether you're looking at higher animal product diets, more paleo diets, more keto diets, or the low-fat vegan diets have also been shown to shorten lifespan too. The minute you take nuts and seeds out of a diet and you make the diet so low in fat, you're so fearful of eating fat that you're just living on potatoes and rice and beans and no nuts, that low level of fat has also been shown to increase mortality from both cardiovascular mortality and cancer mortality. So I'd have to say that overwhelmingly, a nutritarian diet has the most scientific support for slowing aging, enhancing longevity. And then when you apply it clinically to people with diseases, it's very effectively reverses disease and becomes the most effective therapeutically. Also, following those popular vegan diets that don't recommend, some of them don't recommend DHA or EPA supplementation, which are commonly called fish oil, but you can get vegan EPA and DHA. And we're starting to see later life vegans becoming more propensity and more numbers of them just demonstrating dementia and shrinkage of the brain with aging because they weren't properly supplementing their diet to assure DHA adequacy, which is needed for proper brain function, especially with aging. So there's just too many boxes that are not appropriately checked to assure safety and longevity in diet. So I'm much more careful to make sure every box is checked to assure that nothing interferes with you achieving a long and happy and life free of these problems that could develop.
Yeah, when I listen to you, I mean, personally, I couldn't agree with you more. Just following the scientific literature and you know, seeing patients myself. The problem is, you know, there is still a very popular, significant segment of the population that are aggressively promoting, you know, the keto diet, and you know, there's always these typical arguments. I lost all my brain fog. I feel better. You know, I've never felt so well. So it's probably something that happens in the short term, as you said, but in terms of talking about longevity and risk for disease, there doesn't seem to be any question. What you just summarized is an.
And of course, if you cut out processed foods and carbohydrates and sweets, you're going to lose the brain fog. So it's true that when people go on the keto or the paleo diet and they stop eating donuts and cookies and sauces, you know, and they stop eating junk food, they're going to feel better from that alone. But that doesn't make the high animal product consumption any less dangerous. It's just another. It might even be, you know. So we're saying here that it's all about replacement foods. In other words, we want to take out the junk food that's destructive to the brain. And we know high glycemic carbohydrates like white rice and even white potato in high amounts in a diet and sugary foods are destructive to the brain. But that doesn't mean we replace those foods with meat and more high-end animal products to get better. We have to replace those foods with more vegetables and beans and nuts and less animal products to maximize lifespan.